right here we have our watermelon, which we planted earlier in the summer. At the time that we were going to plant it, I didn't have any extra space in any of the raised beds that we have around the house, or any space over on the other side where we had the zucchini and the eggplant. And I did have a couple bigger containers, and I thought I could essentially just kind of trellis the watermelon over. And over time, and as the watermelon got big, the vines would hit the ground, and then we would have the support for the watermelon. The problem is the vines are growing really fast, but not as fast as the watermelon. And it's getting to the point to where there's a lot of tension on the vines, and I'm afraid it's gonna break. So what we're gonna try to do is come up with some kind of a harness system to kind of just cradle the watermelon. This one here is too big to fit through the slats again. So we'll cradle this one, and then the top watermelon will have, I'll just take it back up and over the railing, and we'll put it on the deck. But I'm gonna find something to kind of cushion the bottom and separate it from the decking material. It's a Trex deck, and during the hottest part of the day, the deck, you come out here without any shoes on, the deck is like 120 plus degrees. I mean, it is hot. In the pot that's behind over here, earlier we had some smaller pumpkins, and one of the pumpkins was actually sitting on the deck, and it actually cooked. So that plant actually ended up dying after we harvested the two pumpkins that were over there, and I went ahead and ripped everything out of that pot, and we put some basil in there. But this one here, we want to try to do whatever we can to keep the watermelon growing throughout the rest of the season. So I'll show you guys what I'm going to try to do, and we'll get a close-up of the watermelon. Okay, so here's a close-up of the Moon and Stars watermelon. And as you guys can see, it's got a great marking on the leaves and on the watermelon itself. They've got these little spots, and we thought it was kind of a cool and different thing to grow, and we wanted to give it a try. And here's the second one that's up here, and I would say they're both probably a good 10 pounds. So we want to go ahead and get those supported as soon as we can. Now over here is what I came up with as far as a harness system. I took an old t-shirt and I cut it into a big strip. I'm just going to kind of cradle it in and then tie it up with a couple extra pieces of the t-shirt, and we'll have it hanging from the deck. I want to keep it to where it kind of is now, where it's not touching the deck, because again, it gets really hot, and if it's touching it, I'm afraid it's going to actually cook the watermelon. So why don't we go ahead and see what we can do. And I think I'm going to try to wrap this around both spots here. I just cut a hole in the t-shirt, and I'm going to feed the strip through here, and then I'm going to tie that off. And as I'm doing this, I'm kind of thinking, I'm not sure if this is actually going to, or how long this will last out in the elements. If it's raining and as the watermelon gets bigger, if it's going to hold. But that's what I came up with at the last minute. So we'll just tie this one up. And as we're doing that, I believe a little information on the Moon and Stars watermelon is it is not a seedless watermelon. It's an old cultivar, and it's got, I believe, some really big watermelon seeds that you can actually spit out pretty easily. It's supposed to be a nice sweet one. And it had actually almost gone, what is it, extinct or something? But a couple farmers actually ended up saving some seeds, and now you can actually find them anywhere you can buy seeds, which I believe I got these at the Baker Creek seed company. We're just going to put the watermelon in this thing here. And not bad. You're getting a little bit of support. It is kind of cradled in here. I'm kind of curious if the wind blows. I'll have to keep an eye on this, especially in some storms or whatever, to see how well it holds. It's just underneath the deck, but I think once it starts getting a little bit more weight, it'll kind of drop down a little bit, so we should be far enough away to where it won't cook. And these are knotted up pretty good, so I think that's going to work, and that's supported, and hopefully that'll work. So why don't we go ahead and go up to the top here. We'll go up on top of the deck and we'll flip this guy up and around. Okay, so we're at the top of the deck now, and we're gonna, as you can see, we got the watermelon there at the bottom, the one that we harnessed, and we're gonna take this one and bring it back over. Be careful that it doesn't tear from the vine. And I've got extra scrap of the t-shirt that we're going to use, and I'm going to put this down here on the deck, and we'll let that guy kind of get a little bit bigger. I may have to again address this later. I'll test it maybe tomorrow in the heat, just to see how much heat is coming through the t-shirt from the deck. But in this pot here, I do have 2 plants growing out of it, and it looks like the one that we fixed there at the bottom is from the plant back here, and then this watermelon is the one that we have coming from this other plant here. So each plant has 1 watermelon, which is fine. I didn't think we'd get a big gigantic crop of them anyways, but I believe these things can get anywhere between 20 to 40 pounds. So we may let one go and see how big it'll go, and then we may do one once it gets about 20 pounds or so, just to make sure we get to harvest at least 1 watermelon for the season. So that was a quick one, hopefully, and I'll let you guys know how that goes, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.